Make it through. All right, welcome everybody. We're so glad that you're all here. My name is Angie Huntley, and I'm joined by two of my amazing colleagues tonight who will be part of the Zoom, Shanell Hughes and Tami Ziegler, and each of us will have a little bit to contribute. And we're going to focus tonight on the power of nutrigenomics and teach you a little bit about what that is. But really, we're going to centralize our focus on the issue of chronic pain. And chronic pain is all around us. If we aren't someone right now tuning into the Zoom who's in chronic pain, we know and love people and care about people who are suffering from chronic pain. And there are so many underlying reasons for chronic pain in our day-to-day life, but it really has become something that many people have thought that they just have to live with and that there's nothing that they can do. And two, just feel like they're grasping at straws for exhausting methods to try to cope with chronic pain. And I will tell you that when you're in pain, everything is harder. And chronic pain is kind of this underlying feeling that is almost like a dark cloud, right? And we're expected to go about life, and you don't want to always look like you're in pain. And so a lot of people are suffering from chronic pain and nobody knows because they have to put on a happy face and learn to cope. And that has to unfortunately become their new normal. And so, with the issue of chronic pain, there's not just one underlying cause. So when you look at different people with chronic pain, some people have one of the biggest and largest factors is arthritis, whether we're talking about psoriatic arthritis or osteoarthritis. There's also just results of injuries in our lifetime. And sometimes, like, I've had chronic pain before I used to have a dance career, and I'd have injuries from when I was a teenager that have carried over throughout my life. And whether it's a car accident or a surgery that we just didn't get complete relief, from migraines to autoimmune disease to even some people live in chronic pain who have emotional and mental challenges. So PTSD, trauma, and depression and anxiety can manifest itself in physical pain that people live with every day. And fortunately, in our world of nutrigenomics, we get to look at ways to defy the odds. We get to look at ways to say, hey, maybe this doesn't have to be the norm. And we've gotten to see really wonderful things. So my name is Angie Huntley. I'm a mother of 5 young men and a grandmother, or Gigi. I really go by Gigi. Actually, here's my Gigi cup. Gigi to 2 grandsons, married to my best friend for almost 30 years. And I've been representing LifeVantage, which is a biotech company that has pioneered and specializes in the science called nutrigenomics for almost a decade now. And what nutrigenomics is it's the nutritional effect on our genome, on our DNA. And so often when we say, man, I wish I could get to the root of this. And a lot of times we'll say that about a disease process. And a lot of times we'll say that about pain. I wish I could get to the root of this pain. And getting into your genes and getting your DNA working for you is about as root as we can get. And what LifeVantage has done is they have really mastered the science of formulating nutritional components that are formulated in such a way that they activate or turn on pathways in our DNA that would otherwise be dormant. And that news sometimes is new to people because they think, okay, dormant, what are you talking about? We always tend to blame our DNA for so much, right? And we always think of our DNA as this like ever working motherboard of our biological and physiological computer. But in reality, 20% of it is, but 80% is dormant, kind of sleeping. Now, the intriguing part of that is that in that sleeping part of our DNA, there are some really, really incredible capabilities. You have some pathways in your DNA right now that aren't doing anything, that are just masterful at bringing about healing in your body. And so how can that be? Well, almost 60 years ago, or I think actually now that I've been saying that so long, now I can actually say a little more than 60 years ago, a team of scientists were really looking at what's underlying the dysfunctions that are underlying to all disease and all aspects of pain and all vulnerabilities that have to do with the aging process. Because a lot of times we think the aging process has to do with pain. We think that that's a partnership, right? And if we don't think that way, all you have to do is listen in our culture just a little bit, because it's really, really normal for people to say, it hurts to get old. And man, getting old is tough. And people grab their back, and we just kind of associate this expectation for chronic pain with aging. So if you look at the dysfunctions that support those vulnerabilities that support the vulnerabilities of aging, if you look at the dysfunctions that support disease processes, a lot of which are painful, and if you look at the dysfunctions that support inflammation as we know it, which is a precursor for pain, right? They're all the same dysfunctions within the cell. So how we tie that together is our company, LifeVantage, really focuses on what pathways in your DNA are responsible for your body's ability to lower those dysfunctions or rid those dysfunctions. So rid the cell of those dysfunctions and bring the body into balance. And they've done an incredible job, and they use very, very clean nutritional components. So it's really similar to supplementation. And you're all familiar with supplementation. You can think of nutritional components, basically food grade, really, really clean components that you would normally like take so that your body wouldn't be lacking something. That's a supplement. Well, the difference with what we do is we have those really, really clean nutritional components, but they're formulated to turn on something that's off. So I want you, as we hear about this today, I want you to think of your DNA like you would think of your cell phone. And my cell phone right now, it's showing you a picture of my grandson. It's doing a couple things. It's when it's not sleeping, it shows you a picture of my grandson. It shows you what time it is Eastern Standard Time. And it has a couple other functions that you probably can't see because of the glare. It tells me what time it is. It tells me the date, how much signal I have, and who my provider is. It's doing a few things, and it's doing a few things well, but it's not doing everything that it can do. It has so many more capabilities than it's showing you right now. And if we were to think of our DNA like we think of this phone, or per se, let's say, if I were to think of my phone like we talk about our DNA, I might just say, well, mine's not meant to. Mine's not meant to do anything else. I mean, I'm sure that there's so much that you could be. Yes, of course, I could be making a movie right now. I could be doing a voice recording, sending a text. I could be listening to music. I could be doing a FaceTime call. I could be searching in the dictionary or doing, or even making my phone into a level. But it's so easy to say, well, mine's just not meant to do that. Everyone else's is. And sometimes we think about our health that way. When other people are able to do things, we think, yeah, it's just that that's not in my genetics. I can't do that. And you know what? Some things are not in my genetics because I can't do a thing about the things that are already coded. Only 2% of my DNA is coded though. So I can't do anything about the fact that I'm 5'9". I'm a tall girl. And I would love to be 5'2" and petite, but there's just no amount of fasting, supplementation, or nutrigenomic activation that's ever going to help me to be a cute little petite 5'2". I'm going to be 5'9". That's coded. But there's so much that's influenceable. And so using nutritional formulations to activate pathways in your genes to do what they were programmed to do is no different than me saying, well, I didn't know I had a flashlight in my phone, but if you show me where the switch is, now all of a sudden I know how to turn it on, and it does what it was programmed to do. It does what it's empowered to do. It's doing what it was designed to do, and it's shining. And so in the same way, our nutritional components activate pathways in your genome that are really designed to target those dysfunctions. And we're going to specifically look today at chronic pain. Well, when these scientists were searching years ago on how to tap into those dysfunctions, how to tap into the DNA to balance out and get rid of those dysfunctions so that they weren't supportive of these dysfunctional processes like disease, like chronic pain, like the vulnerabilities of aging, that's when they hit the jackpot. That's when they found this nutritional formulation that turned on a pathway in the DNA that turned on the body's ability to start making these super antioxidants. And oxidative stress is one of those dysfunctions in the cells that supports chronic pain. It supports inflammation. It supports fibromyalgia. It supports migraines. It supports depression. It supports arthritis. It supports rheumatoid arthritis. It supports osteoarthritis. It supports the vulnerabilities of aging. Like a leg of the table supports the tabletop, oxidative stress supports all of those things. Any reason that we could think of that we have chronic pain, if we say, well, it's hormonal issues, it's my menstrual issues, yep, supports that. If we were to say it was because of that car accident I had and I've had all these surgeries, injury, yep, it supports that. So whatever we can think of, we know that, man, there's this leg at the table. And when your pathway, your NRF2 pathway is activated, it just kind of knocks that leg of the table right out of the way. Now, what do those processes look like? We're going to hear some really amazing stories from people who are dear to my heart that have had issues of chronic pain to tell you, God, what does that look like when not only we knock that oxidative stress leg off the table, and now the tabletop can't really be so much of a tabletop anymore. But what LifeVantage has done is it's addressed other legs on the table, other dysfunctions within the cells that support all of those chronic pain factors. So about 9 years ago, I was in a health crisis with my family. My youngest son, I have 5 sons, and one of my youngest sons, because they're identical twins, was in a health crisis at the same time that we were bringing in a 15-year-old who had been through severe abuse, neglect, and trauma. He was joining our family, and he had chronic pain. Was it from PTSD, depression, anxiety? Probably. Was it from neglect and lack of care and maybe not good nourishment? Probably. There were so many reasons why this child was in pain. And no sleep patterns? Probably. All of those things were contributing. And a dear friend of mine, who's going to be one of the people that you meet tonight, a dear friend of mine cared enough about my family and the crisis we were in with my youngest son to say, hey, I want you to take a look at this. She owns an adult foster care home here in Southwest Michigan, which is where we're Zooming from. We're in Southwest Michigan in the greater Kalamazoo area. And she had started integrating nutrigenomics into the care of every resident. She did that after the overseeing physician said, I want you to take a look at this because I would love to see every single one of your residents utilize nutrigenomics. So she's extremely, extremely conscientious as far as not only her business and the fact that she's owning this business, but also in the way that she just cares for humans. And she would always have 6 to 8 residents there that were in her care, and she took that very seriously. She has this beautiful home environment, senior living center. It's not institutional whatsoever. And it really becomes this big family where she used to really be caring for people at end of life times. Well, where their stays used to be like, anywhere from 3 to 18 months. And a lot of times they were in hospice care. She researched our flagship product, that one that turns on your body's ability to lower the oxidative stress. She researched that for 8 months. And there is that much research on it. Right now, there's 31 going on 32 peer-reviewed, published medical journal articles on that product, which is an enormous amount of literature to be on one proprietary natural product. A lot of times you're not going to see that many third-party studies, if any, on a pharmaceutical. And after researching it 8 months, she decided to start integrating into her care plan. So she asked me to please take a look at it. And I was really skeptical. I had zero bandwidth to look at something new at the time because I had gone through almost a year of my 10-year-old son being non-functional and not well, and felt like I had tried everything. But she told me she had researched it. She told me the doctor recommended it. And then she told me that she was having astounding results. So much so that it was a better business plan for her to pay for every single resident to be on these products. Now, remember, these people are coming to her end of life in the worst of conditions. They need 24, hour round the clock assisted care. And she said, Angie, I'm seeing people go off of hospice. I'm seeing people come out of dementia. I'm seeing people go off meds. That got my attention, even though I couldn't translate that into how it was going to help my 10-year-old. So at the time when I started, my motivation was for my 10-year-old, but I gave it to myself and I gave it to our son that we were bringing into our family at the time. And we all had remarkable results, but because today's Zoom is about chronic pain, I want to tell you that my son, Deshaun, who was 15 at the time, he all of a sudden, all of those pains, he had a really bad knee pain, really bad back pain, really bad headaches, and he just got relief very quickly. And when you're younger, your oxidative stress levels aren't as high. And so I noticed a more of a fast response with my son Gabe, who was 10, and my son Deshaun. And so I wanted to just let you know, first of all, that I've seen it in myself. My whole family has had an enormous amount of stories with all kinds of health issues. But Deshaun really stood out with the pain. And I want to introduce you, before we jump into more of the science, to a couple of my friends. And we're going to start with Shanell. Shanell owns that senior living center. And she has been raised in senior living, in adult foster care. She is third generation. Her mother owned adult foster care home. She used to live in one as a child. Her grandmother owned one before her. So this has always been a way of life for her. She's the mother of 7 kids. She's a grandmother of 4. She's a homeschool teacher and just an amazing care advocate for every resident who's fortunate enough to be in her home. And now the average stay is going on 5 years there, because people are just rehabbing instead of kind of going there to die. I hate to say that, but she used to look at it like, we want people to live as long as they can for the rest of their days, not just that they're going there to pass. But now they're really living abundantly. It's really incredible, the things that she's seeing. But as you can imagine, many people come to her in a lot of pain. So Shanell, I'm going to ask you to unmute. Welcome. And I would love it if you would share with people a little bit of what you've seen, and maybe share a few stories for yourself, because I think you have an amazing testimony with chronic pain personally. But then also, obviously, the different ways that people have suffered chronic pain that you've seen, and the different relief that they've experienced.
Yeah, I definitely have a broad spectrum of stories that I can share. Angie's right. I did research this 8 months. There is that much to research for sure. When you go through all the peer-reviewed studies and go to pubmed.gov and look at all the a lot of studies from stress oxidation, what I was seeing at the senior home. But for me, myself, I started also because I had a gallbladder removed, and after doing that, it had to be burned out. It was a bad surgery in and of itself. It didn't heal like I was supposed to. Like everything they said for just a simple gallbladder surgery did not happen for me. And I ended up with severe liver pain for a while. It just felt like stabbing pains. And on top of that, I had a heart condition that I was diagnosed with my first child. And they told me I would need heart surgery, coming up. So I had all of this going on, and so I was really starting to study it for myself. I kind of had written off my residents just because of their age, thinking, well, they're too far gone, but I will research it for myself. And the doctor had told me I want to try this, and just what I was seeing by the time, like Angie said, when people come to me, they've done rehab, they've done all of these things that people rehab sends people to me when they just can't do anymore with them. And they're like, it's just time for end of life care. And so after researching it, I went ahead and took it for myself, and I noticed very quickly more energy, better sleep, that kind of stuff. But then about the third month, I had no pain whatsoever. I wasn't having that stabbing pain in my liver. Like food wasn't like making me sick from eating it. It was just like normal. Like I was back. And I'd almost accepted the pain the way it was and just kind of lived with it until all of a sudden it was gone, and realized this could be a new reality for me. And then to my surprise, about the fifth month, I started not having heart palpitations anymore and had my first normal EKG. So I was really excited about that. So I don't have heart surgery in my future. But obviously, after all of this, I was like, okay, what would this do for senior care? And so I can give you a few stories. We had one lady that came to us from rehab, and they were just like, there isn't any more we can do. She had a surgery, literally from the base of her neck or head to the bottom of her tailbone. They just opened up her spine, did some surgery, and she went to rehab. She wasn't healing. And she just couldn't walk. They couldn't do anything. They're like, this just, she just needs to be in an AFC where she's going to be taken care of. So her husband, brought her to our place. And as soon as she walked in, I was just like, this doesn't have to be the norm. I've already seen some other stuff. So I immediately started her on the NR2 activation. And I also started her on our collagen. So Angie, you could probably share a little bit about that at the end of this, on what the collagen is, the difference between our collagen and other collagens. So I started her on that, and it was crazy, but even our attending nurse at our place was astounded at first how quickly her spine healed. Like the surgery itself was not healed, and it was done in February. This is April when she came to us, towards the end of April. And within a week's time, her surgery healed up beautifully. Like it was incredible. And the nurse was like, what in the world? She had just started with us probably in the past 7 months. So she had not seen other things that I had seen. So this was like new to her, and she just was blown away. But then not only that, she wasn't able to walk. She wasn't able to do anything. She came in a wheelchair with us. But after a week's time, she was walking, taking steps, walking around the house. Fast forward to by the end of May, she was ready to go back home. And I mean, when she went back home, she's going home to her husband. So she has she has care to help her. But she was walking, she was getting dressed, she was doing all of those milestones to be able to go back home again. And it was in 1 month's time. And this was from rehab. She was at rehab from February to April. And they just were like, we can't do this. So that was exciting. I also had a larger guy, like 6'3", just a really heavy, not like obesely overweight, but just a solid big guy. And he was falling, doing a lot of falls. And I hated it because his wife lived with us. And I was like, oh, we're a small place. We can't lift him. Like I did not want him to go someplace else, but it was looking like that. So I was immediately started him on collagen also, along with the NRF2. And within 2 weeks' time, we saw him like not fall. He was just walking more steady, walking more straight, upright. He was even talking better, like a dementia component also improved with him, which was wonderful. And the falling was a lot less. So it was doing something with equilibrium also, on top of severe knee pain. He had a lot of arthritis in his knees. We had another guy come to us in hospice. He came right from a place after falling and breaking his hip. And they came to us also with hospice in a wheelchair. And he's now 5 years later, still living with us and driving again now even, and walking, doing great. Pain level is minimal. Once in a great while, he might ask for Tylenol for something if he's gone out. shopping or something like that, which she does regularly and goes to Myers or something. So yeah, so these are the things that we see. And it's just crazy when you activate and you reduce your stress oxidation in your body. These are 80 and 90-year-old people. We've had somebody come with supranuclear palsy even that was doing board falls, and that's a tremendous painful process in and of itself. And we just saw step by step of just plateauing, not getting worse, which is huge with that. And not only that, get better and actually end up in what they will not classify as remission, but no markers, because there is a remission for that. So they just won't say remission, but again, she was walking great, doing well. So we see a lot with pain as far as arthritis goes and all of those things in a nursing home setting. And like I said, we're talking with 80 and 90-year-old people. So yes, it is more cost effective for me to put everybody on this than not. And I was even talking to somebody today who owns an AFC, and she said, "Oh, how are you doing on staffing? I'm going through staff like crazy." And she said, "I just had someone call today and just quit. And they just said, this is just too hard. This is just, the care is just too hard." And it's physically demanding on your body when they get to that point. But I don't have that. I have all my residents get themselves dressed. All of my residents are walking. 3 of them have cars at my place, which is unheard of. Several of them, we're going on 3 years to the oldest one being 5.5 years right now and still going strong. Where like Angie said, at one point it was anywhere from coming to us on hospice with like a month to 18 months was usually the long stay of it all. So we're seeing extended life, but not just extending somebody's life, but giving them quality life. And to me, giving somebody their golden years back to be able to enjoy life and move without, constant pain with headaches and all these other things is just a treasure and a gift.
But when they come to you, you're seeing them in those
In
states.
constant pain, yeah.
Similar to what they, so the difference is now they're able to dress themselves, they're able to get driving permissions back, and they're living a stronger life. But the way they're coming to you is exactly how they were coming to you 10 years ago. It's just that their trajectory is totally changed.
Totally. And it's even it's quick. I'm surprised. I wasn't expecting this, but we had a lady move in December, and she came with her husband because her husband just couldn't care for her anymore. And she was just really, really, really bad pain to get in and out of a car, to get in and out of a bed. She would just scream out to get in and out of a chair. It was horrible for her. So we started her right on NRF2 and collagen also. And it was January, so it would have been a month for her. It was a month. All of a sudden, she was getting up without pain. She was walking around. She wasn't asking for any pain meds anymore. Her family couldn't even believe it. As a matter of fact, her son had to come and take her to a doctor's appointment. And he came back and he goes, "I don't know what you've done or what you gave her. Whatever I gave permission for, yes, is working." Like, she got in and out of her car with no problem, wasn't yelling out. He's like, "I don't even know this woman that I took to the doctor today because I'm used to her always screaming out in pain and just, in constant pain." But to see her smile, we actually went even for lunch because she was able to get in and out of a car. And so those little things that you take for granted, when you get them back, are everything. And so, yeah, so now even right now, she does not take any pain. She's doing really good. Even her dementia has improved her also. She's getting up at night and taking herself to the bathroom. It's just a total new
Wow.
experience.
And what about, I mean, it's so hard to like keep talking after you say those things, because I just want to be like, but this has become our normal. So our conversations are always like this, but I understand the phenomenon of like, if you're new here and this is the first time you're hearing it, I know you might want to be like, pause, like, can you pause this? So neuropathy is something that so often people feel like is untouchable. And like, I'll have some people say to me when we talk about their pain, they'll say, "Oh no, but mine's neuropathy." But what have you seen with neuropathy, Shanell?
Oh yeah, great things. We've had people usually like gabapentin for 800 is a really high dose. It's a really high dose. And we don't have anybody. They'll come on at 800 and the doctor just continues to wean them off into like even 100, and sometimes they completely go off from it. Some people just want to stay on it because it's just their crutch, or they feel like I need this. I've been on this for years. There's no way I can go off. So they stay on it even at 100, but I'd rather have them at 100 than 800 at that point. And but they just feel so much better. And it's just, yeah, they're not falling as much. Just it's crazy. I have one lady that fell literally weekly, and we were doing the NRF2, but then we added the collagen too. The NR2, she got off blood pressure meds and different things like that. But then we added the collagen because of her fall. Then her feet was just going numb, and now she doesn't have those falls anymore. So
Wow.
we see incredible things. Like it's to the point now that families will come to me and say, "Oh, there's nothing you can do. There's nothing." And in my mind, I'm like, "Okay, yeah, I've seen great things. Like you're not going to talk me into there's nothing I can do. Will you just let me personally, buy this? I've never had a family turn me down." Um, and they're just astounded. Like I can't believe this is my mom or my dad. This is crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I know when 9 years ago, I had asked my mom to start with NRF2 and NRF1. And actually, I wanted her to do it for her memory. And she had debilitating arthritis. She was going to physical therapy 3 times a week.
Yeah.
And I think she noticed at about 4 months of activation, she just didn't have it anymore. And that was 9 years ago. She'll be 80 in a couple weeks. And she's not on any meds. I mean, she's just kicking hiney out there and doing awesome, but the pain never returned, so
Yeah.
it was just, I think she's an inspiration for me to see, like, aging doesn't need to equal pain.
Yeah. And
So
the dying process doesn't have to equal pain. We used to see, like, I've been in this for so long, I accepted how the dying process had to be as that was it. And when you stop seeing that and turn things around, it's like you can't accept it anymore. Like, no, because the dying process is violent and it's painful. And I don't see that anymore. It's such a peaceful thing. There's not filling up with fluids and one organ shutting down versus the other. It's just kind of like sleeping a little bit more, a lot more. Eventually it gets into sleeping more, but they stay awake and alert pretty much all the way to the very last breath, which is a huge gift to the families too. And not the turning and the high levels of morphine and secretion drops, all this kind of stuff that you see in the dying process at this age. We don't see it anymore. It's not even a norm for us anymore, which I'm so incredibly, if that's the greatest blessing I can give someone, that's great, but it's not. I see quality of life improve. And so it's been a blessing for us, and
that's
yeah, we're
amazing.
continuing on.
Thank you so much. I know with the amount of years that you've done this, and the amount of people you've seen, and you have even a larger family than I have. So just the amount of stories we have, even within our own homes, the beauty of what we've seen in our own bodies. It's such a gift. And Shanell will be on, we'll take a Q&A at the end. But I want to say first, thank you for sharing. I always have to thank Shanell because she's the one who shared with me, and it really changed the health trajectory of my home and my family, and really set me forth in a new career path. Because when I first heard about it, I thought, man, if this works on my family, everyone needs to hear about this. And I'm really upset that I don't already know about it. And
It's such an
so
honor to share.
yeah. So thank you for being that person that was willing to share with me.
My pleasure.
Um, I want to hand it over to my friend Tami Ziegler. And Tami is such a beautiful soul. She's a registered nurse, so she's working in the medical profession. She is working in the medical system, and yet she had been living with chronic pain. And I know so many people too who work in the medical field who are not feeling great. And so I'm so grateful that she was open to take a look at this. And so I just want to invite her to share. She's here in Southwest Michigan, where we are. And she's just a wealth of knowledge, but really she's just passionate about helping people. And she's an amazing, amazing nurse, an amazing friend, amazing wife, and an amazing mother. Tami, you are just amazing, basically. Would you hop on and share like what made you open to this? I think you were surprised a little at how your body responded because I don't think your motivation was pain relief, was it?
No, it was not. You're right. Okay. Thank you for that, Angie. You're so sweet. I mean, wow. I'm
You're
pretty
easy.
great.
You're easy
So,
to post
okay.
about.
So yeah, as Angie said, I'm a nurse. I have been a nurse for over 30 years. I'm almost going to be 50, I'm 57. I'm working on 57. October, I'll be turning 57. I beat up my body. Okay. I work in an outpatient setting now. I don't really work a whole ton, but let's go back. So in 2014, I had a partial hysterectomy. Okay. And I started feeling pains, like my big toe, like would have pains. And if anybody has arthritis here, and first of all, I wanted to start out with this. I'm gonna pedal back a minute. Do you guys think this is crazy?
Yeah.
Like I am not one. I'm very skeptical about things. And even though I'm a nurse, I don't like taking medicine. I don't like any of it. I'll preach to everybody else to take stuff, but me, I don't practice what I preach. I don't like taking things. So back in 2014, I had a partial hysterectomy, and in 2015, I had breast cancer. Um, 2016, around this time frame too, I was starting to feel arthritic pain. And my doctor said, well, you've got osteoarthritis. She used to take care of my mother. My mother dealt with so much severe pain in the end, in her 50s, 60s, 70s. And it was just debilitating that we had to take her in for shots. And I thought, well, here I go. I'm going to take after my mother. I'm starting with arthritis. This is going to be my life, basically. I started having some knee pain, and my low back has hurt me for years. As a nurse, we do a lot of lifting, a lot of, you think you're strong and vital, viral, or whatever you want to say. Vital, what am I trying to say? Anyway, just you do things in your young years thinking that you're so strong, and then you're
Invincible.
literally ruining
You,
your body.
you feel invincible.
Yes, thank you.
Mhm.
So, anyway, I figured this is what's going to happen for me. My knees started bothering me. My back pain was always there. I always had low back pain, but it didn't, take me out. I still worked. I still did things. I still played tennis with my kids. I still skied. I did all the things. I had pain, but I just dealt with it. So 2016 comes around and I'm on the lake. I live on a lake and I jumped out of our pontoon into shallow. It was at a what do you want to call it? It was just a shallow area. I jumped out and I went both onto my feet, but my knees went down. And I will tell you, the worst pain I've ever felt, not ever felt my whole life, but it was terrible. I was like, oh, and I'm like, what the heck just happened? So since that time, both of my knees have bothered me. But in 2016, when I did that, I had torn a knee meniscus. So I had meniscus repair on my right knee. Um, Going forward, 2019, I had a complete hysterectomy. And I'm bringing up these things because losing all of your hormones causes a lot of problems. Postmenopausal, you have pain. Pain is something that you can get in postmenopause. But I never thought of it that way. I thought I've got arthritis. I'm screwed for the rest of my life. I'm just going to be just like my mother. So in 2021, I had a right knee replacement. It was completely down to the bone. And I begged him to do my left knee because my left knee is just almost to the bone as well. And it's very painful to me. So there's a little history with my terrible joints. So working, I got to the point where, first of all, I didn't go play tennis with my kids anymore because my knees, you need to do quick movements. My knees were bothering me. I stopped playing tennis. And that's one of the things I really loved and something I could do with my children. So I stopped doing that. Nope, I can't go with you. You guys go. I can't. It's too painful. Um, Going to work, I would work, come home. They would ask me, first of all, at work, they'd ask me, I do the breaks. I usually do the pre-op stuff. Then I'm done. I do the breaks. And she would say, go on a break, Tami. And I'm like, no, because the minute I would go on break, if I sat down for any amount of minutes, maybe 10, 15, 20 minutes, I'd get up and it would be, oh, when you stop moving. Now, you guys with arthritis, you know what I'm talking about. You stop moving, then you get up and it's like so much pain. So I refused to go on breaks. I would just give everyone breaks and then I would leave. Driving home, that 20-minute drive home, I'd get out of my car and I couldn't even stand up straight. And this has been a couple years ago, you guys. This is when this was happening. I couldn't even stand up straight. And I had to stand outside my door, put my fist in the low back of my, low part of my back and do this to it and just like stand up while I'm doing it. I just couldn't. I was in tears a lot of the times. It was terrible. I'd come into my home, I'd sit on my butt the rest of the day because I was miserable. Um, so I started taking Celebrex. I went to my doctor. I said, I got to do something. I can't even do anything anymore. Skiing was terrible. I couldn't walk in my ski boots. Everybody have to wait for me because my knees were killing me. Just all of the things were terrible. And so they put me on Celebrex. I hate medicine, but you know what? I'm going to do what I can do. Put me on Celebrex. It wasn't working. I took it for about a year or so and I said, is there anything stronger? Well, they put me on meloxicam. I had side effects from that. I went back to Celebrex. So now along comes LifeVantage. I didn't get into LifeVantage because of pain. Angie said that. I got in because I wanted to lose weight and the GLP-1 system was coming out and I was watching an influencer and she was going to be starting it before it dropped in October. And I thought, oh, okay, this is going to help me because if I lose weight, it's going to help my pain, right? So I guess it kind of had to do with my pain. I was also taking Mounjaro. That's a whole other story. So anyway, I got online and I looked at things and I was having trouble sleeping and I thought, oh, they've got these vitamins I can take. So I ordered these vitamins and the Protandim, NRF2. And I started sleeping so much better. And I'm like, you guys, does this sound crazy to you? I feel like it's too good to be true. Like, even as I'm talking right here, I tell people this, I'm like, you're going to think I'm nuts and you're going to think I'm telling you a bunch of BS, but it is not. It is so true. I just can't even help myself talking about it a lot of times because it's so amazing. So I started taking that. And then I got online and I'm like, oh, there's collagen. So I was taking collagen. I won't say the name of it, but it was a powder collagen from Sam's Club. So y'all have probably seen that. I've taken it for several years. And I even actually had told my husband, I'm going to stop taking this crap because it's not helping. It doesn't help me at all. I got to figure something else out. So, but anyway, I saw the collagen and I thought, oh, okay, well, I'm going to stop taking that collagen and I'm going to start taking this because I already feel better with just that. So I started taking the collagen and I also bought a bunch of other stuff. Like I went crazy because I'm like, okay, this stuff is helping me in this area. This has got to help and that's got to help. And oh my gosh. So that was back in October. So I did not even think about what this stuff was doing for me. Other than I'm sleeping really well and my mood was better and I felt more energy. But you guys, in October, I started this. December, end of November, early December, I went skiing. And we have this ski in, ski out. And I got this big hill I got to climb when I want to go home, which I would dread. And I climbed that dang hill. I climbed it. I didn't think anything of it, you guys. This is the point. I didn't think anything of it. I'm like, okay, here we go. I thought, oh, I did that. I had a lot of energy. Um, I can't even tell you when I realized that I wasn't hurting. Okay. This is weird. And that's a few months in. But we also would have to take breaks. We go up north to our place up north. It takes 3 hours to drive there. We usually stop. If we don't stop, I get out and I'm miserable. Like I said, when I stay in a seat for too long and sit and rest, I'm miserable and it takes me a minute. So we did our trip. We came home. I had to drop something off at my niece's house. So I had my husband go there first. And this is after actually, it was a 4 hour ride because it was terrible weather. I remember it was so terrible. And I get out, I bounce out, I go down her sidewalk and I go in and talk to her. And then I come back out. We go home. I get out of the truck and I'm getting all the stuff out of the truck. And I get inside and I'm like, oh my God. I don't have pain. Like, what the heck? I just jumped out of the truck without problem. That's when I realized you don't know it until you know it. Like you realize it. You don't think about it until you do. And I'm like, dang. So I could go on forever. I could just keep going, but I'm not going to. I know we have time frame here. But I will say, you think it's crazy. I thought it was crazy. It has definitely helped me. I still am on the Celebrex, you guys, but I felt like that wasn't working. Remember that. So I'm thinking my next appointment in May, and my doctor is very excited to see me in May because she knows I'm on these things to see how well I'm doing. So I'm going to ask her if I can go off of that and see if I'm still going to feel good. I will say now, my back pain, I have scoliosis, I have bone spurs, I've got arthritis, I've got squishing in my spine. So you can't take all that away, but so I do, if I walk or if I'm on my feet for long periods of time, my back is achy. Okay, I can deal with that. I can walk, I can stand up straight. I don't need to sit on my hiney. I'm moving all day long. Like I have my energy back. I have myself back. And that is the biggest, bestest thing ever that I feel so freaking good. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how else to say it, but and it just kills me when I see people and I talk to people and I know the pain they're in and I'm like, "Do you not see me? Do you not see me?"
I think, it's interesting because I think part of it, I wonder how many people in your life realized how much pain you were in before.
Well, I think they do. They did
They
because
did. Okay.
couldn't I couldn't hide it anymore. I mean,
Yeah.
there were times I didn't complain all the time, obviously, but when I was in severe pain, my husband knows it because he would see me come home from work and be a decrepit
Yeah.
old 80-year-old lady.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he doesn't see that anymore. So,
Okay.
yeah.
I remember one of the first times I was drawn to you, I was learning, you started in October. And so you were new in my life, but I remember you posting about hiking. You went on like a hiking trip.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you were in such shock that you were hiking all of this time and your knees were holding up and you weren't in pain. And those are the things that make my heart leap because
Yeah.
you get to enjoy life and live it in its abundance without feeling like, oh, I can't go hiking because I'll pay the price after, or I'll be miserable after, but you were just like pain-free.
Girl, okay. See, I could talk about this all night. You're right. I forgot about that. And what's funny is that we went with our best friends. And so my husband and my best friend takes us too. So the boys were miserable. The
Well, we
girls,
don't want him to
we
be
were
miserable,
good.
but
And I'll have to tell you, this last year we went skiing and my daughter, everybody was miserable. We had skied all day long. I wanted to just get up and go the next day, and everybody else was like, oh.
oh, bless your heart. Well, I'll try to bring it all together with just a few minutes left to let people know why, because a lot of times when we first start talking about nutrigenomics, we'll say I'll give this little precursor to say, it's going to sound too good to be true. I remember sitting at Shanell's senior care living center, listening to a presentation and thinking, this sounds too good to be true. And what I've learned in the last 9 years and getting the privilege of working with people like Tami and other people on this call and seeing them have a powerful tool in their health and wellness tool belt, is that your bodies really are made in that kind of too good to be true way. Your bodies are so incredible. And I think we all innately know that. And that's why we always are thinking something should be working when we're not getting relief. All of us kind of feel like, "Ah, I wish they would figure this out." Well, here's a way to figure it out right here. So basically, because we're utilizing nutritional components, we're using things that your body is made to receive without side effects, basically food, and it's turning on programming in your body that's ready to work, that wants to work for you. When they made this discovery of our first NRF2, that's the word you heard a few times, the protandem NRF2 activator, and that's the antioxidant pathway. When they discovered that they could turn that on so powerfully 20 years ago, they were at the University of Colorado in Denver, and they did their first study on humans. It was a radical, too good to be true study that you should be skeptical of, because I always tell people in our world today, you should be skeptical. There's a lot of bad stuff out there. And so we had 100% efficacy, lowering oxidative stress more than any food, drug, or supplement ever has, and even yet to this day still hasn't. And that article was published in the summary of that study was published in the Wall Street Journal, and that got the world's attention. So ABC Primetime investigative report came in and did like an investigation to kind of bust it. And so I want to just play like a 2-minute segment for you so you can kind of see the power of what we're talking about. And why we see the things we see and why it sounds a little too good to be true. And then I'll just wrap it up with some science, and then we'll take questions if we need to, if anyone has questions.
The oxidative stress measured by those T-bars increases with age. But in Dr. McCord's tests, taking just one pill of protandem a day reversed that trend for everyone at every age, even for an 80-year-old.
They all are reduced to the level of oxidative stress that one would expect, frankly, in a newborn or a very young child.
Back to the oxidative stress levels of a child? It sounds too good to be true. Will protandem work on me? But what about my progress? After nearly 2 weeks now, it's time to get my results. Dr. McCord calculates the number. The result? My level of oxidative stress has declined dramatically.
45%. That's excellent.
Just look at where I fall on the graph, before and after.
Which, if extrapolated back, is the level you would see in a newborn baby.
Have we turned back the clock? Well, maybe not on the outside, but deep inside within my cells. Yes, indeed. Would you suggest I keep taking this supplement?
I would.
And so, ancient Eastern healing and modern Western medicine may soon be working together. High oxidative stress is associated with more than aging. It's been linked to hundreds of illnesses.
It's at the very center of many diseases: liver disease, diabetes, emphysema, asthma. I've studied all of these: strokes, heart attacks, even mental disease. Yes,
Depression?
Alzheimer's disease, depression. But we do know that oxidative stress is part of those disease processes. But I don't want to wait until I'm 80 years old and find out that I should have taken it.
So that gives you kind of a glimpse into what we're talking about and why it's so powerful, is because oxidative stress is one of those legs in the tables, and one of the supporting legs of the tabletop. And if you think of what your pain is, and even if you don't know the cause, because I know some people suffer from chronic pain and they've never gotten an answer as to why, but whatever you call it, if you call it my back pain, if you call it my headaches, if you call it my bad knees, or if you call it aging, let that be represented by the tabletop. And imagine a tabletop representing that aspect of your life or the person that you care about's life. And oxidative stress knocks a leg out from under it. So now that tabletop can't really function with the same properties. And what we've done at LifeVantage is they've continued on the science of nutrigenomics so that they addressed other dysfunctions in the cells that equally are supportive of disease and the vulnerabilities of aging and chronic pain. And so we give people an opportunity, like Tami said, I started trying this and I started trying this and I started trying this. And so what Tami didn't know that she was doing was she was knocking several legs out from under that pain. Whatever was causing her chronic pain could no longer be supported by oxidative stress. It could no longer be supported by a lack or loss of collagen. We activate the body's ability to not only produce collagen, we activate the body's ability to protect collagen from loss. And when we activate these different pathways in your genome, it starts to balance and regulate other survival genes that have gotten really, really dysregulated. And some of those dysregulated genes are the culprits themselves, just in their dysregulation to disease, to inflammation, to chronic pain, to autoimmune disease. So, you know, when we look at things, because I know inevitably as you hear Shanell talk and as you hear Tami talk and myself talk, it's easy to think, well, what about for lupus? Or what about for MS? What about migraines? What about, you know, like you're thinking of what your tabletop is, right? But the beautiful thing about this, and I think why it sounds too good to be true, is because we're so focused in our culture at disease or symptom management that we look at migraines, take that pill. And like Tami said, we look at arthritis, take this pill. Oop, if you have a side effect, let's switch to a different pill. And we look at everything separate. But with nutrigenomics, we look at, let's affect the things that influence everything. So if it's made up of cells, then we're going to get the cell well. Well, anything that you're struggling with is made up of cells. And that's why we started to see like, okay, even whereas like my brother needed 2 knee replacements and 2 ankle replacements. So still has, you know, it's not like giving him a new knee and a new ankle, but being able to wait to get those surgeries, some of the underlying culprits that weren't helping him in his pain were all of a sudden balanced, and he wasn't suffering to that degree anymore. And so we've addressed things like mitochondria. There is a genetic pathway that is responsible for strengthening and building and multiplying your mitochondria. Well, we activate that pathway. So not just oxidative stress, not just collagen, but mitochondria. Even there's people trying to manage pain by getting NAD infusions. Well, we activate NAD. So naturally your body just starts producing what it needs there, and it has a stronger effect to where your body's always producing those sirtuins, which is the end result that people are hoping for when they get those NAD infusions. And even with our mind body, I'll tell you, I added our mind body is our GLP-1, and that's what drew Tami. Tami said, okay, I'm going to try this natural GLP-1 and I'm going to lose weight. And knowing I had been around this scene for 9 years, and I thought this is going to be really good for our health, because I know what happens when we start activating pathways that should be working and should be balanced. And one of the very first things I noticed, secondary to sleep, but that's not a coincidence, because when we aren't sleeping, we are in more pain, you know, like we heal when we're sleeping. So I first noticed my pain, my sleep get deeper and phenomenal. Then I had an old dance injury that was still hanging on a little bit. A lot of my pain had been totally managed and with activation, but I've always had some SI joint issues just from a fall, as you know, years back when I was training in my dance career. And I had at about 4 weeks in, I had such a dramatic drop in pain from an injury. Now, it would be really easy for me to say, well, that's an injury, it's not going to do anything for this. I mean, I was injured, you know, decades ago. But all of a sudden, I'm in significantly less pain. And that was from the GLP-1. because it starts getting everything balanced. It starts balancing so many different genes, and it increases circulation, and inflammation is lowering, and all these parts are working together. All these systems within our bodies are working together. So we could go on and on and on about the science. Sometimes that's good for those of you who love to study. Whoever invited you to this call can hand you so much documentation that we can keep you busy for a while. But a lot of people just want to kind of hear, what is it, and help me understand it. So if anyone has questions, we want to open the floor for anyone to get their question answered, and we'll do our best to answer it. I'm going to keep the recording going, but if you have a question and you would like me to stop the recording, if it's personal, then I will stop it. But sometimes those questions, those Q&A, it's the best part. A lot of times you're going to ask the questions that mean the most to the people who might be watching a recording, even more so than what we would share. So does anyone have a question and I'll check the chat just in case there's questions in the chat. If you don't want to unmute, you can feel free to type it out in the chat and we'll answer it. Oh my gosh, Lori. Wow. Wow, that's incredible. I just love that. And you guys make sure you check the chat, because like Lori Gallen had just shared that she thought she had, well, she did. She had permanent nerve damage in her arms and constant back pain since 2013 until now. And she's new to LifeVantage. It's just, that's incredible. It's so incredible to see what happens when you get some of that, the garbage. Like sometimes people describe free radical damage, which is oxidative stress, as like the garbage within the cells. And sometimes when we just getting the garbage out, look what a difference it can make in our day-to-day life. Just thank you so much for sharing that, Lori. Does anyone have a question that they need answered? All right. Well, thank you everybody for being here tonight. Thank you, Tami, for sharing. Thank you, Shanell, for sharing. You're both incredibly inspiring. And I know each of you could have shared so much more. So to try to capsize all that you had into a small amount of time, you did really, really well. And to just be so transparent about what you've lived through and what you're experiencing is just something that is really going to help so many people. So we are recording this, and we'll make sure to get this recording in the hands of anybody that feels that they need to share it. We aren't claiming to heal, treat, or cure any disease or mitigate any disease, but what we do is we fix the cell. And so really we say, like, to get well, fix the cell, because all of those disease processes, actually, we're starting to realize, like, it's the cell dysfunction that really is the disease, which is interesting, as in the way we word it. But anyway, thank you, everybody. We're so glad you were here, and have a wonderful night.